started, Kate.
Absolutely. So thank you all for being here. Some of you got sort of a late add to this, so we appreciate you making the time to hop on. Um, some of you might have needed to wait for an updated link, so we appreciate you all for taking the time to get to that and for hopping on. If you don't know me, my name is Katie Huntington. I'm a program manager at your Association of Graduates, and I do mostly 50-year affiliation and cadet engagement. Um, and I'm just going to do a little bit of housekeeping. So you just heard we are recording this meeting. So if you have to hop off, if you need to come back to check for anything, if you want to share this with a classmate, we will be sending out the recording after the meeting is over. If we could just make sure to update our names on the screen so that when folks are uh, asking questions or having comments, they can see who it is that's asking that of them. That'd be great. If you don't know how to do that, you can just hover over your name, right click, and scroll to the bottom. It'll say rename, and then you'll be able to type in what your name actually is, especially if it says that you're, an iPad or something like that. We will be pretty conversational, but we're going to let Catherine and Forrest um, present first. So if you do have questions and they're not getting, it's not discussion time, feel free to drop them in the chat and we'll get to those. And with that, I will let Debbie take it away.
Okay, thanks so much, Katie. So I'm Debbie Edelin, class of 1992, and also privileged to be honorary 73 and 75. And I'm with your Association of Graduates Alumni Support Engagement Team, which is really a new position which combines a lot of our constituent engagement and our member services into one group. And what we're looking to do is to build our engagement activities across the board, find synergies, and really deepen the connections that we make within the long gray line. So you're going to hear more about this as volunteer leaders and some of our key folks on our team coming up within the next year as we launch our strategic plan. And so one of the cornerstones of the strategic plan and the connections that we do, and one of the major programs is this 50-year affiliation program. So we're glad to have you all here today. With us also is Amy Plotkin, who is our amazing class support coordinator. She's also the head soccer coach's CEO, household six, as some would say. And she works with all of our classes, including the cadet classes, as well as our ring donors. And for some of you who may not be aware, we do have the ring melt coming up in January for the class of 2027. So Katie introduced herself, and we are very fortunate to have her as well on our team running the 50-year affiliation program. It's always nice to hear the superintendent get up, especially around reunion time when we have some of the classes here who are just finishing the program. And he calls it one of the most powerful programs that we have. And that's because this program, when it pairs the cadets who are entering with the class that graduated 50 years earlier, it creates a living bridge across generations of the long gray line. And so, starting from our day through pivotal milestones like our day, affirmation, ring weekend, branch night, and then graduation, our 50-year affiliate volunteers walk alongside the cadets, the affiliated cadets, and welcome them, support them, and ultimately hand them their first set of second lieutenant bars, symbolizing their transition into leadership and service to our great nation. And so it's tremendously powerful. And so while this program, I want to highlight something that's important. While this program resides in our class support element of alumni support engagement, we're really grateful for the partnership with our societies as well. They're critical in starting those first connections at the local level, continuing that through with the 50-year affiliates who are at the local level, and also for affirmation, for those of you who don't know, for those that are close to the service academies, when we have cadets who are on exchange at other service academies, they assist with the affirmation ceremony there. So this is an all hands type of event, and we want to continue to build those synergies across the board for all of our constituencies. Um, Basically, what we see is that behind every handshake and every story and every shared moment, there's encouragement that are given to the cadets. And we're very grateful for the graduates who share their time, talent, treasure, their energy, their experience, to keep this program vibrant and impactful. We at AOG may be the facilitator, but the reason that this program is so incredible is because each and every one of you and the cadets who really are open to learning and to connecting with the senior class. And so, while we hear that old grads claim to have gotten a lot from this program, just as much as the cadets do, and sometimes more, because it really gives them strength and confidence in knowing that the next generation, with every engagement that they participate in, is in great, great hands. And so today, we're really lucky to have two incredible class leaders who have set a tremendously high bar for the 50-year affiliation program. We have Dr. Forrest Crane, who is the class vice president for the class of 1975 and has been the 50-year affiliate lead for Courage and Drive. And then we have Second Lieutenant Catherine Metz, who is the class president for the class of 2025, Together We Thrive, who happens to be back in the US as a newlywed reunited with her husband after her first term in Oxford. And so just in sharing that with you, you can see what an incredible person she is with what she's already accomplished. And so what I'd like to do is just go ahead and turn it over to Forrest to start us off. So thanks so much, Forrest and Catherine, for joining us.
Yeah, well, thank you, Debbie. Certainly appreciate the opportunity to share this with everyone, and I'm very glad that Catherine was able to make it back across the ocean to participate in this as well. She was my battle buddy for the past 4.5 years as we executed the program. I'd also like to make mention that we have a couple of other classmates from the class of '75 that are here sitting in as well. John Urchek, who's up there at West Point, and he and his wife Cindy were the tactical command post north there at West Point throughout the entire operation, and really opened up their house and helped contribute a heck of a lot to the program. We also have Rick Hofert, who after his 4 years of supporting the program through a number of events, was appointed as the class historian for the class of '75, sort of post facto. So congratulations, Rick, on that one, and thank you for supporting that. And we also have Tom Behrens, who is an extraordinaire when it comes to putting together videos and presentations. He had a number of them throughout the course of the year. So I'm glad. I just wanted to introduce that we had those three with us as well. What I plan to do, or how we plan to present this, is I will give basically an overview and touch on some highlights and talking points from the class of '75 perspective. And then I'm going to turn it over to Catherine and let her give some of the points and highlights from the class of 2025 perspective. And then we'll wrap it up at the end for any kind of questions that we may have. I'll start off with the title slide that you see here. We've got both crests that you see from the class of '75 and the class of '25 on the left and the right, but I want to point out a couple of things in those two crests. When the class of 2025 designed their crest during their plebe year, they took our class crest and took a couple of design characteristics and moved it and conformed that into theirs to sort of meld, if you will, the transition between the two classes. I'll point out the 5-pointed star that's in the center of both crests. That was an intentional design by 2025 to take something from our crest and make it part of theirs. Catherine reminded me the other day that the infantry blue color that you see is the back of the scroll for the Courage and Drive and the '75 is also the shield outline for their crest, and that was an intentional morph as well between the two classes. And Catherine, if I missed any others that might be there, please point them out because I did not intend to necessarily overlook them. One of the other things that I wanted to highlight to you too is the coin that you see in the middle. That's the coin that we presented to the class of 2025 after the affirmation ceremony. We presented one coin to each member of the class to include those cadets that were exchange cadets at the other service academies. We had ceremonies at those locations as well to present them that coin. And we also had enough made to be able to present one to each member of our class. So each member of both classes was intended in the order when we had that coin made. We kept it very simple, just with the class crest, as you can see, the class motto at the bottom of the scroll, and then on the front end or the front, you see "Duty, Honor, Country," and then on the back side, "Grip Hands" is the motto, reflecting the relationship between the two classes. You go to the next slide, Debbie. Just a couple of statistics to highlight our two classes. You see at the top on each side the number of cadets that started off in the USMAPS program, those that graduated from it, and then those that showed up or were there for our day, and then those that graduated 4 years later. You also see the number of cadets, new cadets that entered on our day. And I'll point out that our day for us was one day, and for most classes it was as well. However, for the class of 2025, because of COVID, it was spread out over 3 days. So their our day was in fact our days when they came in. And quite frankly, recalling having to report to the man in the red sash, I would not have wanted been anyone to report on day one of our day for the class of 2025. I might have been reporting to the man in the red sash for 72 hours. You also see the graduation numbers there between our class of 849 and then 1002 on graduation day in May. Obviously, the attrition rate was a little bit higher for our class than it was for the class of 2025. We only had 13 graduate late from the class of 75. But in the June, August, and December timeframes for the class of 2025, you see the number of graduates there. And I just was informed we're down to 26 in December for the class of 2025 that'll be, in fact, graduating later this week. John Urachek, who I mentioned earlier, is going to be our representative there for that graduation. The branch you see down at the bottom, of course, back during our time, we were limited basically to combat arms. So we had just a handful of branches that we could go into. A small number were able to go to medical school. And we weren't very bright when it came to the scholarships. We had none immediately, but 4 at some point later in time. As compared to the 16 branches that the class of 2025 was able to assess into, a larger percentage, a couple of percentage points, able to go to medical school, and well over 100 scholarships were earned by the class of 2025. So that's the basic statistics between the two classes over the span of half a century between the two. The next slide. An overview of a couple of things is our experience at most of the classes as well for the 50th year YAP program really spanned more than just the 4 years. It actually started with USMAPS when they assessed into that program. But I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, because it really did begin before that, based upon opportunities that afforded themselves prior to those cadets or new cadets reporting into the USMAPS program. In addition to the regular affiliation program events, there were about 16 total events that were involved in the program that we participated in. The one pending that you see there is, in fact, the graduation that'll occur later on this week. Over the course of the 4+ years of the program, we had well over 250 members of the class of 75 participate in at least one of those events. A number of us participated more than that, but that was about a little over a third of our class that was able to participate in one form or another in that. With regard to the legacy, there was, in fact, one granddaughter in the class of 2025 that was whose grandfather was a member of the class of 75. So there was a a bloodline or a blood link between the two classes in that regard. And then in terms of legacies, you can see that we had roughly 70 sons and daughters, one grandson and two granddaughters as legacy graduates from our class. Next slide. I'm going to hit a couple of talking points here, and I'll emphasize ones that really made an impression or helped contribute to the success. First and foremost, the West Point AOG team, Debbie, Katie, Amy, the entire crew were critical to the success of the program. They guided us, gleaned lessons from those classes before us, fed that to us, and really were there from the beginning to the end. And I can't speak enough or hard enough to speak about how important it is to tie in with the AOG team. That is key to the success of the whole program. I would also suggest to you that you try to establish relationships at the lowest level as possible. Fortunately, in the establishment of the Ring and Crest Committee for the class of 2025, they were able to identify company reps down to each one of the companies. And we used our class distribution representatives, which are down to the company level, to tie those two together. So we were able to establish relationships at the company level between our company representatives as well to the Ring and Crest Committee representatives of the class of 2025. Some of those relationships bloomed and really grew and continue to grow. Some of those relationships between the companies were not so much, but it certainly was an opportunity aside from just the events in the 50th year of affiliation program to be able to link up with the class. It also afforded the opportunity for us to have a number of informal engagements at West Point and at hometown. Throughout the 4 years, we had classmates that would visit West Point for whatever reason or not, and they would tie in or link up with some of the cadets from the class of 2025, sometimes from the company that they were in. And also when some of the cadets were at home during various leaves, be it Christmas or during summer or whenever, what breaks they might have had, it did afford the opportunity to have informal get-togethers at the individual or small group level throughout the course of the year. In addition to the 50th year YAP programs, I'll just talk briefly about pre-R Day. Between the West Point societies, the West Point parent clubs, and the USMAPs, prior to our day, we found that a number of our classmates who were members of the various West Point societies across the country and overseas, and the parents clubs, were invited to picnics or whatnot for cadets prior to reporting into our day. And that did afford another opportunity to establish a relationship between the two classes. The Inspiration to Serve was an event that occurred later on, but at the end of their yearling year. It involved a cemetery tour where the cadets in the class were taken around and were guided through to discuss various classmates that are interned or various graduates that are interned there at the cemetery. And we do have one of our classmates that's buried there that we were able to include in the tour as well. For their affirmation program, thanks to John Urchek and the folks there at the Public Affairs Office, we were able to put together a class video, a short 2-3 minute video that featured our class president and several of our class distinguished graduates offering congratulations to the class of 2025 as they took the affirmation oath. And that was a pretty good video, quite frankly, that we were able to include into the program. In the ring melt, we had 9 of our classmates that donated their rings to the 2025 ring melt. Branch night, we took the opportunity to grab several of our classmates that had served as the chief of their respective branches that you see there. For the engineer branch, we had Major General Randy Castro representing that one. For the infantry, we had Lieutenant General Ben Freakley participate and represented the infantry. And then for the military intelligence, we had Spider Marks there as well. So we had representatives during branch night that, in fact, had been chiefs of their respective branches. Throughout the course of the year, we had a number of fireside chats on various topics. And I'm just going to leave it at that because Catherine will talk about that in greater detail and give her perspective on those events. One of the big items, a monthly newsletter that the class of 2025 published throughout the course of the 4 years, they afforded us the opportunity to have an affiliate class article as a part of that newsletter, and it was distributed through the class, through our distribution network, as well as on a shared drive. And Rick Hofert was our guy that really led that piece of it in editing, crafting, writing, coordinating all those articles, and really did a great job in providing that piece of it for the class of 2025 newsletter. I would offer to you that if you've got classmates that live somewhat in the immediate area of West Point or nearby, leverage those guys. John Urachek, as I mentioned before, was our tactical CP forward. He just lives just north of West Point, within a few miles. In fact, I think, John, you told me one time your backyard goes right into the academy ground, if I got that right. But John and Cindy were key to being able to coordinate and help set things up. They also served as an opportunity for a location for us to rendezvous for many class reunions in conjunction with things like the affirmation program, branch night, and whatnot. So it really was an opportunity to leverage the opportunity there. And John, we certainly thank you and Cindy for all and opening your house and home to us.
It was our
Those were the
pleasure.
major talking points that I wanted to touch on. I will pass it on over to Catherine to give her perspective on the program.
Thank you, Dr. Crane. Hello, everybody. My name is Catherine Metz. I just graduated from West Point in May, and I have the privilege of serving as the class of 2025 president. So as Dr. Crane said, I'm going to build upon a couple of the programs and efforts that our class took on, our class officer team took on to augment the awesome 50-year affiliation program. I remember, I think my first interaction with 1975 graduates was during our march back at the end of Beast, which was really cool to grip hands with those guys who had graduated 50 years before. And it's cool now seeing how those 4 years progressed, how I've become friends and many of my classmates have become friends with many of those same guys and new graduates from the class of 1975 that we met throughout the 4 years at West Point. So this first effort is the Thrive in Times. So our class officer team started this monthly newsletter, I think in November of our plebe year. And we started as a way to kind of memorialize and highlight the big events that were happening within our 4 year experience at West Point and to highlight the achievements of our classmates. And early on, our class historian and I thought it would be cool if we could highlight some of the experiences and stories from our affiliate class, from the class of 1975. And so early on, I think we were taking information just from online, what we could find about the class. And luckily, Colonel Rick Hofert, who's on this call, reached out a couple months in and offered to provide us with monthly input that he curated and sent to us. And it was just wonderful because he would actually get stories and quotations and photos and recollections from his classmates and provide them for our affiliate part of this newsletter. So, for example, when 100th night happened, he provided recollections from the class of 1975 100th night and 100th night show. Or if it was a summer issue, he would provide stories and photos from the class of 1975's CFT field experience at Buckner, or what they were doing over the summers at West Point, which was just really awesome. So here's an example of last December. Our 50-year affiliate section was on recollections of their branch drawing as we were going through the same event at West Point. So you can scan that QR code to see other newsletters, but that was a big effort for our class to kind of grip hands with the class of 1975. Next slide. So the next thing is fireside chats. So I think my classmates and I, we were interacting with these awesome graduates from the class of 1975 through some of these formal events. And we realized that so many of these guys just had really impressive careers and cool stories and wanted to give them an opportunity to, and a platform to share those stories and advice with our class and our classmates that wanted to hear them in more of like a conversational setting. So we started the Fireside Chat series. So we started this our yuck year. And I think a few keys to success for this program, if it's something that you'd be interested in implementing through your fifth year affiliate program, is we aim to do it about once a semester. We focused on quality of the event, not quantity. Advertising it well, so we would send it out in emails, advertise it on our social media and in our monthly newsletters. Also, timing it well is really important because, as you all know, cadet schedules are very busy. So it's very hard to fit even really cool events into cadet schedules. So we would try to have these events during spirit dinner if we could put in a trip section, or during a lunch, so that cadets weren't really missing out on other things in their schedule. That requires a little bit of planning on the front end to make that happen, but I think it's very important. Another thing is providing free food. So our class of 1975 was very generous in providing the funds for food for most of these events. We also put in rations requests on the cadet side to help subsidize that, but the generosity of the class of 1975 really helped make the food possible. We also had a different cadet host the chat each time. So depending on who was coming to speak from the class of 1975, we would try to invite a cadet that had interest in that same like area of expertise as the graduate that was coming that could host the fireside chat. And then we always had a cadet photographer to capture the event so we could share it with our classmates who couldn't attend and with the class of 1975. So I'll go through some of the fireside chats that we did. This was our first fireside chat with Ambassador Doug Lute, who was a distinguished graduate from the class of 1975, retired Lieutenant General, and former U.S. Permanent Representative to NATO. The next fireside chat, you flip the slide, was with Lieutenant General retired Mark Hertling. So he was the former commanding general of U.S. Army Europe. And actually, we invited him back to speak at our 500th night banquet. So our class really recognizes and loves General Hertling. One of the cool interactions that came about from this fireside chat was with my classmate Jacob Smith. So Jacob actually met General Hertling in 2007 when his dad deployed with the 1st Armored Division to Iraq. And then fast forward 16 years later, and he met him again at this fireside chat, which just shows the strength of the Long Gray Line in the 50-year affiliate connections. To the next slide. The next one was with Major General retired Spider Marks. As you can see for this event, we got free Chick-fil-A, which is always a draw for cadets. Another awesome event. You can flip this slide. And then this was an event that was a little bit more unique. So at the end of our cow year, we decided as a class officer team that, West Point has a mission and a vision. Our class has a motto, but we also wanted our class to have a vision statement. So we wanted to get together some of the leaders within our class, within sports teams and within their companies and regiments, to come together to brainstorm different vision statements. And we invited Honorable Bob McDonald, who we are very proud to say is a member of our affiliate class, who has a lot of experience leading teams and leading awesome organizations. And he spoke on the importance of a vision and kind of led us through the activity of formulating vision statements, which we later had our class vote on and decide on later on. You can flip to the next slide. And then the last event was with Colonel retired John Yurchuk, who's also on this call. He was the chief orthopedic surgeon during the real life Black Hawk Down event. And this was an incredible event. He gave a remarkable presentation about that event and about his experiences in the medical field, specifically within the Army. And for this event, we tried to tailor it and invited a lot of our classmates who were applying to medical school or had branched med services to give them that expertise and advice from Colonel Yurchuk, which was awesome. You can flip the slide. So it's really awesome looking back. Just graduated in May, but over the 4 years, me and my classmates really got to know all these awesome graduates from the class of 1975, whether it was through the formal settings that were set about through the program that AOG wonderfully curates, or through more informal settings. So in that top middle photo is a photo of I was in the Glee Club, so me and my classmates with the 1975 alumni Glee Club guys. I see Mr. Behrens is in that photo. He's on this call. On the left is General Hertling. He commissioned me in May. Dr. Crane and I during grad parade. Upper right was a photo from actually a funeral for a class of 1975 graduate, and a few of my classmates, we sang at the funeral, which was a really a cool moment to grip hands with that class. And in the bottom right is us presenting some honorary graduate certificates to a couple of the graduates from the class of 1975. We happily extended that honor to many of the graduates, many of which are on this call, as honorary graduates of the class of 2025, because they really made such an impact on our class in our 4 years at West Point. So this is a wonderful program. I just want to thank AOG for giving us this opportunity to talk about it, and hope you all can turn it into something amazing, like I think we did over the last 4 years. Thank you.
Catherine, great. Thank you very much. I guess the only other comment that I'd like to share is that I have only heard one regret from many of my classmates over the past few years with regard to this program. And that regret is that we didn't have this program when we were cadets. It would have been great to have gripped hands with the class of 1925 and hear their experiences of World War II and Korea, and perhaps even some of them in Vietnam throughout their careers. But other than that, great program. Catherine, it's great to see you again. And Debbie, Katie, Amy, thank you for all the support throughout.
Thank you both very much. What a beautiful wrap up of this program that you put so much time and effort into in your 4 years on West Point. And what a beautiful testimony to the relationship this program is meant to curate. Thank you for being here, both of you, as we're looking towards Friday, the last 50-year affiliation event on post for the class of 75 and 25. But as we can see from this wrap up today, the relationship has been bonded, right? Like it's been set. So now we move forward, and you move forward, and it's been a really beautiful thing. You've set the bar in a lot of places. Catherine was kind enough to work with us to start to develop an SOP on those fireside chats she told you about. And there's been a lot of things that these two classes have done together that have elevated the program and that will sort of kickstart some traditions and ideas for the classes to come. So thank you both very much. Anyone on the call have questions, comments, things they'd like to say? That's right, Chuck. The relationship has only just begun.
I'd like to offer a few suggestions and give a little history. When the program started, I was very indifferent towards it. First, the phone rings. So I was up at West Point for an unrelated event when the march back happened, and so I made sure I had the right uniform to wear. And I was really impressed by everything I saw at the march back. Now, prior to that, I was in the Glee Club. I wrote a song called "The Line Grows Longer," which is basically a companion piece to Army Gray, Army Blue. Instead of cadet looking forward, it's an old grad looking back. And I was so impressed with the march back that I made it into a music video. And the last verse was all photos of the march back parents with their kids marching back. And so it was really neat. I got about 50 pictures from the parents coming back there. Because of that song, I got mentioned in the Thriving Times, and I get to meet. At the time, it was the class vice president. I don't know if Cadet LaRue. I don't know if you're familiar with her, but I got a chance to meet her in person at a joint concert in D.C. The D.C. Alumni Glee Club had a joint concert with the West Point Glee Club, so I got a chance to meet her. And all of a sudden, she becomes a lieutenant. Now she's a lieutenant Metz. You wouldn't know it because of the British accent. You probably know that's not you don't recognize the two people there. So a lot of stuff was through the Glee Club, but also this was a reason to get back and talk to H1, my company. I found out that H1 was just starving for historical information about what the company had. Somebody started a journal in the 90s, and it was woefully incomplete. So I had two reasons to go back just to see H1. Number one, I developed a challenge coin for H1, and I gave one to every one of the class of 25, the beanheads. If they could make it through H1, they got a free challenge coin. And so that was one reason to do it. And then another one was back when we were cadets, someone stole the H1 guide on it at Army Navy game. He actually stole a bunch of them as a Navy prank, but the H1 one was never returned, and nobody told us that until I found out about 4 or 5 years ago that one of my classmates has access to our H1 guide on. So, long story short, we had a recovery process. We got the guidon back, and then we went up to West Point and had an official recovery. We turned the old guidon back over to H1 in Thayer Hall, and that was pretty neat. And we did it in March. So, about 6 or 7 of my classmates came back for that. And each one of them told stories about their first couple of assignments. And I gave about a 1 hour presentation of how H1 had changed over the years. Really, for our era, 75, 73 through 78 or whatever, before the women came in, there was a sea change. So a lot of them don't know what it was like before and after. So I went over a lot of that stuff with them. But because it was March afterwards, all the firsties wanted to hang around and talk to all of our guys to find out because their first assignment, it was getting real for them. So they invited us to the first class club that night and picked our brains, and we told them all sorts of great stories. So that was a great memory. Um, the the affirmation thing, I went back to that just to hang out. The one thing that I don't think they did was the video of it. I just happen to have my camera handy. I'm a videographer, so I videotaped it. Just make sure that you videotape these events when they take place. Um, the last thing I wanted to mention was there's a unique opportunity this next summer of July 26th. There's going to be a West Point Alumni Glee Club reunion at Trophy Point, and they'll have the first time we did it, we had classes 150 alumni from 5 decades. I think it would be neat if you got the guys from the class, if you have the new cadets come to that concert out on Trophy Point, and then maybe have some sort of an event with their affirmation counterparts. Just something to think about. It only happens like every 4 years or something like that, but it would be a nice opportunity to do that. And that's all I got.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Comments,
Yeah,
questions?
quick question here. Those slides are great. I'm with the class of '81, and we've got the next one coming up here that we're getting ready for. And hi, Nancy. I see you here. Thanks for the invitation. Those slides were great. Is there a way you can share those with the class, please? With everybody here,
If that's okay with Catherine and Forrest, then I'll send them out with the recording. Good?
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, that's
perfect.
okay.
Thank you. I got a question for Guy Wolf. What is your role with the class of 1980 and 2030?
Well, that's partly what I'm here to learn. No, seriously, I volunteered to do whatever I could, and so I'm on a list with dozens of others as an area representative.
Okay. The reason I'm asking is very likely going to have a young man that from this area going to be the member of class of 2030 starting this coming summer. As I told him this past weekend, he's the most complete human being of his age I've ever met in my life. So much far advanced from where I was at his age. If he
That's great
doesn't
to
get
hear.
in, I don't know who will. And he just learned that he got the primary nomination from one of our state senators. So he's an odds-on favorite. So I made it happen for him to attend his first Army Navy game with his mother this past weekend.
Yeah, sounds wonderful. I'll send you a contact info and you can get us in touch with them.
If you would please.
All right.
Hi, this is Reese DeLore from class of 78. And I really enjoyed hearing about the successes that were enjoyed with class of 2025 and class of 75. And in fact, I made a bunch of notes here. I'm going to be contacting people so I can, in fact, not only learn from what you did, but maybe reuse some of the things you did. We're kind of in the shoot for affirmation, and so we're working that pretty hard right now. Also getting ready to order up coins. But the one question I had that sort of niggled at my thought process is the process for getting the volunteers to donate rings, because it feels to me that that could be a very emotional, very sensitive process. So if there's any lessons learned there or things that would make sure that we do that in the best way possible, I would love to hear about those things.
Yeah, Reese, I'll respond to that if it's okay.
Okay.
We really didn't push the issue. As you pointed out, it can be a very emotional thing to let go of one's class ring or what have you. We did have classmates when we made the announcement of this is the window that for any of you that may be considering donating your class ring for the ring melt. Here's the window, here's the point of contact. And quite frankly, the 9 that volunteered for that did that of their own volition. No arm twisting, no nothing. I mean, if we ended up with 0, we would have ended up with 0. But some of them chose to go ahead and donate the class rings. In fact, we had one family of a classmate who had since passed that donated his ring for the ring melt as part of that. So I would say advertise it, but don't twist arms.
If I
Thank
could
you
just
for, oh yeah, go ahead,
add
Debbie.
on the Ring Memorial Program too, we do not solicit rings either. We let people know what the program is, but we do not ask for donations as well. So we appreciate our 50-year affiliate classes sharing that. One thing that we also do is that we share through the class leadership for the cadets about the program, because oftentimes we'll find after our deadline for accepting rings that that there are family members who would have liked to have contributed a ring to their cadets, whether it's a grandchild or a child, to their ring melt. And so we do share that with the cadets so that they understand what it is. One exciting thing that's happening this year, for those of you who are haven't heard, is the whole class of 2027, which is the cow class, will be attending the ring melt this year. And so we're really excited about that. Catherine's class was the first class to have the ceremony and I call. And so for the last 3 events, we've been incrementally moving it so that we set the foundation for the cow class to attend should the academy want that. So we're thrilled that we're going to be able to do that this year. But just so you all know that we do share that with the cadets. I think once we also have been requested by the commandant to do a video for all 4 classes the night before the ring melt, so that more cadets learn what the ring melt is, understand the significance, and really understand what the legacy is being imparted into their class rings. And so we want them to fully understand and embrace and understand the service and sacrifice and history and stories that are imbued in each and every one of their class rings. And so so I think that it's going to be even less on our part that we have to do, because if there are cadets who have family members who have rings the cadets probably will be working with their own families to do that as well. But it's a very special program, and we appreciate the support. But again, it's such a personal decision to do that we would never ask. So thank you, Forrest.
If I
Yeah,
could
I saw
throw in
Jack
Mark's.
ask
Hi,
a
this is
question.
John. Oh, hi. I had a question about the ring melt. So, is there any formal process then for the preservation of the stone, either for the individual or the family? Is there a special setting that's used, or is it up to the individual?
Uh, we have a jeweler that removes the stones. He also can make a pendant out of the part that goes around the stone with the West
Right.
Point. But we also ask families to consider taking it out with their own trusted jeweler if they wish to at their own location before they send the ring to us.
Understood. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Uh,
Katie, somebody asked about the finances. If you got the finance slide you can bring up, please.
I surely do.
Yeah, Jack, I saw your note there, buddy. Good question. How much,
Thank
what's the bill here?
This is our estimated budget that I have up on the screen here. Let me see if I can make that bigger for y'all. So this can sort of flex depending on a lot of variables, but this is sort of where we estimate the 50-year affiliation budget currently at around 83,000. And then I can show you specifically the class of 75. Maybe. Sorry, my mouse doesn't want to cooperate with me here. There we go. The class of 75 came in pretty close to textbook. Um, if you can see that um, at 73.9. And like Forrest said, one of the big expenses that they didn't do was during our day because they had unusual our day experience. The class rented tents and did ice cream, which is a bit less of an expense than the breakfast and water that's typically provided by the class. These are the funds that are covered by the 50-year affiliation fund. As Forrest alluded to, the class of 75 had many very participatory classmates who gave not only of their time and efforts, which all of 50-year affiliation events come out of pocket for travel and accommodations. The classes don't provide for that. The funding doesn't provide for that. Um, but also who provided spaces for gatherings, provided provisions for gatherings, who made private donations for bar tabs and get-togethers and other things. So the funds that you see are for sort of customary expenses for the program, and certainly a lot of other personal resources and passion went into the program for the classes of 75 and 25. That estimated budget is shareable. So I'll make sure that you all have that, and it's in the toolkit on Sallyport as well. Tom, I think you had something to say, and also John. Or if anyone has finance questions, I can answer those
this was
too.
just something about the ring donation.
Yes, sir.
I did not donate my ring. I don't wear the ring very often. I wear it for West Point events primarily. Um, but I probably intend to donate to the ring melt. If you watch one of the videos of the ceremony, it's pretty inspiring. Uh, the ring means a lot to us, but it doesn't mean that much to a lot of our family members. I mean, if you come from a long line of West Point grads, yeah, that means something. But neither one of my boys could care less about the ring, and I don't know how that works with other people too. And I've also got to know somebody that their kids are fighting over the ring, so um, you got to look at it. But to me, it's I'd rather have a chunk of that thing there being in future classes, because theoretically they keep a part of that gold for every class. It's not just the class the affirmation class. It's not affirmation, but it's a chunk, a little bit of a molecule or so is in every one of those. The class of 19, Ed Borman was our classmate, and his dad, Ed Borman, threw his ring in there with his son. They melted them both. Theoretically, that ring went around the moon. So all these classes now will have a molecule or something that's been off this planet at least. So that's pretty cool about that alone. So I
Definitely.
definitely
Thank
think
you.
it's a good it's a good use of it. If your kids don't care about it, it's a good way to donate it.
Thank you. I think that the education is definitely the big thing. So we do make a beautiful video during Ring Melt and Ring Weekend that we do share online that you could share with your classmates. Or if you have widows in your class, also something for them. And we live stream the event as well. So those are a good way to sort of get a feel for maybe if this is something that might be right for you or someone's loved one or not. And also the education about the donation window is very important, right? Because leading up to the ring melt takes a lot longer than a lot of people would think. So we have the ring melt coming up in January. Cadets will go home for Christmas break, and inevitably someone's grandpa will say, "Oh, I'm going to put my ring in for your melt." It's too late. So that education is also just important, that they understand sort of the work back of when they need to get their paperwork and their ring in to plan for that in a timely manner if they want to. Um, yeah. Thank you, Tom. John, did you have something?
Yes, please. Let me get it off mute here. First, before we forget, Rick Cantwell's on here. Rick runs a 501c3 corporation, the Patriot Military Family Foundation, which we use to donate and then run money back through to help support our affiliation class. So I want to give a shout out to Rick. He's sitting there in the background. That was a big help to save us expenses throughout this endeavor. Um, Tom stole my thing on Colonel Borman, so we'll let that go. Reference the crest. If you look at the 2025 crest, you'll see a chain in there. And my understanding was the chain represents the link between our classes that was deliberately put in there by Catherine's class. So thank you. We appreciate that. The next point, we wish we had an affiliation with class of 2025, what they went through that, or 1925, it would have been awesome. But the other part we heard very frequently, and part of it's a little frustrating, and I'm sure Forrest has the same sort of sentiment. We have the 75 forum, we have the Snuffies forum, we have the Sally Port, we have individual emails, and we send all this stuff out, and people go, I never heard about this. And you just go, oh my God. Um, and we had people go, hey, I wish I would have known about this. I would have participated more. So it's frustrating. People will say they didn't hear. You've sent it out 1,000 times. You got to send it out 1,000 more times. Um, so that's the one point. And then two more points. We had a bunch of classmates, including one who was my roommate, who refused to donate to West Point because of a whole bunch of issues. Um, because I'm here, I was fortunate. I've been to Projects Day. I know Rick Hafer came to Projects Day. It's not part of the 50-year affiliation program, but the Projects Day shows the research that these cadets are doing. As I told my classmates, I'll send you the abstracts. You probably won't understand half the words in the abstracts, let alone what they're doing for the research. So to say the Corps has, et cetera, et cetera. And so it became a personal campaign to make sure I went to this and talk about what caliber these cadets were as far as trying to help boost our recruiting for donation dollars for our 50-year affiliation gift. That's a little sort of a political commentary on the side there. But um, some of these people have never been back. They're or their picture of West Point was 25 years ago, it is so much different. And so I think it's incumbent on the ones of us close that can get here to get up there and interact with the cadets. And it was just a blast. Now, this is a little bit of a promotion because I actually got this from the class of 2025. We found out about this. There's a company called, and I get nothing back from this company. I haven't got a bottle or anything. I had to buy all this stuff, but it's something pretty cool and it was pretty fun. At the firsty social that they have just before graduation, they had a company called Sono 1440 that makes bourbon in Connecticut. And they do their own engraving. So you don't have to order X number of bottles. You can go to their website, pick whatever you want. So I'm going to just show you. I don't know if you can see, reflects on the back, but this is 2020. Yeah, it's hard to see. 2025, as you can see, it's good bourbon. I know Debbie's had some, and then maybe it'll show up better. This is the 1975, and so they can do it for your class. And I would say start early because they also donate 20% of the proceeds back to your class fund. Um, Reach out to me after, or Deb or Kate. I'm sure they have the contact information for Sono because they were actually there at the Association of Graduates and they've been there a couple different places. Um, the the people are one's a grad, I think 84-ish or something like that, flew for 160th for a while. His other partner, I hate to say, is Navy, but we'll kind of forgive that for now. Um, and the bourbon's pretty good. So for those classes that have a lot of bourbon drinkers, that may be a way to augment your coffers too. So, and it was a blast. We were as Forrest said, Cindy and I were the local people here. I met classmates that I don't think I ever met before. And that's one of the things you'll find with the 50-year affiliation because we didn't scramble and we pretty much were regimented by where we went to class. Guys I came up to and go, God, I don't ever think I met you. And some of them I got to be really good friends with through this program. So it was a blast. And congratulations, Catherine. It was a pleasure working with you the last 4 years.
Uh, Something else, 50 years is a long time, and we don't always necessarily think that till you start talking to these cadets here. But a few years ago, I took a silent movie of West Point and I changed all the text to modernize it. So instead of being from 1929, it was 1975 lingo and jargon and stuff as a lark. And then I got to thinking, if we had an affiliated class, our classmates were probably, or the affiliated group would have been in those silent movies as extras in those. That's how old 50 years is. And when I went back to H1, I took one of our deceased classmates. He had a H1 sweatshirts with. We donated it to the H1 area there, and I also gave him a slide rule. And they looked at it like I was something out of Indiana Jones, because it was just stuff that we kind of take for granted. It's all changed. It's really changed a lot. So be prepared for a little bit of culture shock. And like you said, the terminology's changed quite a bit since we were there.
Very cool. Thank you all so much. I don't want to
I
cut
have
anybody.
a question, Katie.
Go ahead, Kathy. Yeah,
Sorry, I raised my hand, but I know we're on
that's
different
okay.
screens. First of all, thank you. This is awesome. I know Ed Vergara, who's on the call, and I have started the planning for 1980 and 2030, and so many other classmates are on the call. So awesome to have you here. First, thanks for all the information. It's really great. One of the issues that we're anticipating is that we have had so many classmates that want to be involved in the program, and if you just go by the official events, not that many people can actually officially be involved. So this is awesome to learn about the newsletter, the fireside chats, the Glee Club thing this summer, and even John. Hi, John. It's good to see you. The projects day. So do most classes have that newsletter thing? Or is that something, Catherine, like that you all just started, or now are other classes doing that? That was one question I had. Or the fireside chat things. can we learn more about some of the other activities, because we have a lot of classmates that want to be involved. Thanks.
Yeah, so the newsletter thing was, I think, something unique to our class, but I worked with two of the classes below me to work with them on starting a newsletter, and I know the class directly below us was working on it. I'm not sure about class of 2028, but that's something that it does take some like cadet ownership in, but it is a seed that you can plant within the class officer team. It just might not be something that they thought about before. Same thing with the fireside chats. And I did work with Katie and Debbie to work on some sort of SOP to make that easy to implement going forward. So I think if you do plant the seed and make it easy for cadets to implement on their own, it's definitely possible to carry through, especially with support from the affiliate class. But it is important to have cadet ownership for sure. And the class officer team, especially in the first couple of years, like it's kind of nice to have some sort of project to work on because there's not a huge amount of events that the class officer team needs to be working on. So having those things to work on is actually kind of nice.
Thank you,
Thank
Catherine.
you. Thanks.
Yeah, I can share the SOP that we put together on Fireside Chats. Like Catherine said, that does come from it's cadet led. So they're the ones that sort of have to take the bull by the horns there. You'll find every class sort of has a different personality and different personalities of the leaders in that class as well. And so some are a little more organized, some are a little more laid back, some are a little more gung-ho, some are a little more laid back. But we do try to encourage best practices. You will find it's not possible for you or for us to micromanage something like a monthly newsletter. But if you have the folks who are on board to do it, we certainly do our best to make sure that the resources are there and that whatever is important to your classes, that you have the resources to make happen if you want to.
So if I could just add to, Catherine, we did hold you up as an example from a leadership standpoint, you and your fellow class officers, most recently when we had all of the under four classes behind you at their class leader breakfast recently. But Kathy, to your point about other opportunities for classmates to get involved, given that we are spread out all around the globe, I would encourage classmates to try and get involved with their society level as well with the 50-year affiliation. I think that that is a great inroad to meet cadets where they are from their hometowns and to potentially start building those relationships closer to home because they have so many shared experiences coming from a certain area. So get involved with the societies and with the parents clubs. Forrest brought that up as well. I think that those are great opportunities to get people tied in.
Yeah, thanks. And you had mentioned that before, and I think Mike Peppers is on this call. He is actually leading our class's effort and well on the way for this spring's Founders Day and connecting with parents clubs. So we did get that information, and we have lots of people that are going to be involved in that. Thanks.
That's great. We can't wait to have you all onboarded.
Hey, this is Rick Hafer, class of 75. So I think another way to get involved is if you happen to live near an Army base and you got a society near the Army base, the CTLT cadets that come in each summer. Here in the Fort Hood area, the local society hosts a barbecue for them, and it was a great opportunity to link up with cadets. In particular, the summer that was the first summer, which was predominantly the class of 2025. Most of the cadets that were at CTLT were from the class of 25, and it was a great opportunity to talk to a whole bunch of them during that time.
I think one other quick comment was I can't speak for my classmates, but I'm pretty sure they will vouch for this that reach out and contact any one of us. My email is juhorchek@gmail.com. 845-764-0786 is my cell. And we'll be able to give you our experiences. And we had a tremendous time and we're all lamenting that it's over.
There are two other areas that you can connect with classmates. One is the field force. So I was on a board, field force. and maintained a lot of contact with the cadets I supported all the way through whenever I went up to West Point, which is fairly frequently, taking them to dinner, finding out how they were doing. That was always good, I thought. They still contact me now after they graduated. And the other area is affiliation, whether it's Glee Club. For me, it's tennis team. And so whenever the men's tennis team or women's tennis team came to DC for the tournament against the other service academies, we support them with a banquet. It's just another way to work with cadets.
Thank you. And the traveling sports teams has have been mentioned before as well, Kathy, that especially the club teams love when they're traveling to have that extra support. So if you have people across the country who could, pay attention to those schedules when a team is maybe coming to their area, whether they were involved with that particular team or not, might be a great time for that connection with a society or special interest group, but certainly 50-year affiliates to show up and say, like, here we are supporting you, not something that's on post or, necessarily in the program, but the whole idea of the program is curating those relationships. So the more people you have interested in doing that and the more venues you have for it, I think is a really great thing.
As my classmate John mentioned, we're willing to help anybody with this stuff. I'm an amateur videographer. I've done a lot of stuff. If you look up the word "take big bites," all is one word, bites with a Y, you'll see I've done a lot of spirit videos for Army Navy games. I've done a lot of glee clubs, performances, honor flights, and stuff like that. If you have ideas that you want to do videos or of stuff, just let me know. If you just need some consulting information, whatever, feel free to contact me and I can talk you through it or maybe help you edit some video if you got some ideas. I always like doing a fun video project. If you don't know this, I recently took American Pie by Don McLean and I made a West Point version of it. And if you've been around our time area, you'd get most of the jokes in there. And it's a good time capsule, even for the ones that weren't there. It raises a lot of what they mean by this. So if you go to the Take Big Bites, you should be able to find it out there. It's called Ivan's Drive, and it's just contact me for information about it. But I think you'd get a kick out of it if you're around the 75 era.
Thank you. All right, great. We're a few minutes over, but I think all in all, we did a really good job. Thank you all for being here this evening. Thank you especially to the class of 75 and to Catherine, the class of 25, for sharing your expertise and your highlights with us. We are just looking forward to hearing from y'all in the future and how this relationship continues to grow. And for those of you who are here, who are building out your 50-year affiliation program and elevating from within, we're looking for that as well. If you are here as a 50-year affiliate representative, you should have received outlooks for our upcoming roundtables for the New Year 2026. Ooh, I couldn't think there for a second. We are going to move from quarterly to every other month in 2026. So we will take feedback on that. If it feels like too much, if it feels like, we're repeating ourselves, then we can pull back, but we're going to try that for the upcoming year. There is a link in that Outlook. If you have ideas about things that you want covered, questions or comments, or if you have an area of expertise that you feel like would be relevant to the 50-year affiliation program and audience, you can use that link and let me know. If you were on the list and you have a classmate that you know wants to be involved in the program and you think it would be beneficial for them to be on the call, please feel free to share with them. If you are not on the list and you feel like it would be beneficial for you to be on the call, you can reach out to me. You can certainly also be on the list. For this particular call, the class leader webinars, you will be getting an updated calendar in January, so look out for that. So 2 separate 50-year affiliation roundtables will be every other month, and you should have those on your calendar already. And then the class leader webinars for the year will be coming out in January. Thank you all so much for being here. And once this recording gets updated to the cloud, I will share it out with you along with the slides.
Thank you.
Thank you.